Today we have Matt Marquez with us, and Matt is the drummer for Norma Jean. We are so excited. Matt, I just have to start at the beginning and say that Norma Jean is a part of probably one of the coolest moments of my life. And that is this last year at Furnace Fest. There was this very, very viral video, got like 50 million views of two people stage diving to Memphis. And I'll just say I was the first one. I was the one in the red shirt that jumped. And it's so cool to see like that just kind of like take off the way it did. And so anyway, I'm indebted to the coolest moment in my life to Norma Jean.
Dude, that's awesome. That's actually like a really cool little full circle moment because I that's one of the things I always talked about after the show, telling my friends or family that at this part of the song, this thing happened, and it's one of those moments that I just didn't forget from not just that show, but most shows. So, so it's very rare meeting the person behind something like that. So this is really cool right now.
That's funny. Well, I remember like the show, and it like didn't get off to the start that you wanted to, right? Because there was all the like PA stuff going on and it took forever. And then obviously you have like the person who like collapsed in the middle of the show. And I think it was like before the show started, I remember, like the Idle Threat guys were up there and you're talking with Justin and you're just like trying to like get yourself like stay in the mode of like a show, even though like everything's going wrong. And Cullen and I during that time we're talking like what, like is it possible to like dive from this? Like could we actually jump? And we had just saw 68 and we stage dove to that when they played The City, that Chariot song. So
Yeah.
that was like super cool. And so we stage dove to that. And so we were already in that like stage diving mode and we were like, can we do it here on the main stage? Can we clear the gap? And Cullen was like, I think as long as like that like bass monitor or whatever that monitor was in the middle between the stage and the barricade, he was like, as long as that's like not too wet, I think you can just like leapfrog off of that and clear it. And now looking back and I'm forgetting the guy's name now from Idle Threat who jumped as well.
Zach? Is it Zach?
Something like that.
I think
Anyway,
so.
It was, yeah.
he's a guitarist. Anyway, like to see him like actually fully clear it, I like kind of look back now and I'm like, damn, I should have done that. Like I just wanted to play it safe though by leapfrogging off that monitor.
I mean, that leapfrog was kind of swaggy. It was like, oh, this was like a precision move where the other one was just a gamble.
Yeah.
Right.
He could have lost his shins.
I was like, man, the guy that leapfrog, he knows what he's doing. you sat there with a clipboard and graph paper and you engineered this whole thing.
That was all Cullen's doing. He was the one that masterminded that, and I executed it.
It's well executed.
It was a fun moment.
It was over beers at the back 40 next door. It was awesome. Also, I just want to have a little shout out. Now I know that Matt, this is not your symbol or your signature, but I do need to get your signature on this. Right now, I have Mr. Holyoke, your predecessor.
Okay.
I have his signature on this. It says Norma Jean right there. Mason got this for Christmas for me a couple of years ago, and it's one of my most prized possessions. So I got to get your name on it. Would you ever be willing?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you can like mail it to me and I'll mail it back or something. Or
I just got to come see another show, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, we're never going to play shows again.
That's the big news. Huh?
Yeah, right. Just dropping that early.
I would be heartbroken. Mason and I both have Norma Jean tattoos. Like, we're skin deep.
That's so cool.
Beyond skin deep.
Like what tattoos are they?
We have the Hook Man from Oh God.
Okay, yeah. So I got the same.
Fuck yeah, dude. We all have the same tattoo.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I mean, for us in the band, like it's kind of one of those things like that over time, if you've been in this band long enough, you should maybe get it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because like everyone has, and now everyone in the group has one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Corey showed us one after a show. Like when you guys were touring with Idle Threat, we saw you guys, and I'm pretty sure after the show we like got to hang with Corey for just a bit, and I think we like mentioned about our tattoos, and I think he showed his too.
Yeah, it's I call it the work uniform. I'm like,
The
oh, this
work
is
uniform.
the work uniform. That tattoo.
That's awesome.
It's kind of crazy how like that symbol was it was something that came out obviously for the album, but like it ended up being something that just stuck.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional, but that just became like the thing to symbolize the band for a really long time. And
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why it made sense. Like when I first started, working with the band, I was like, so I kind of feel like I got to earn this a little bit, I get some tours under my belt and whatever, It took a few years of doing the Norma Jean thing for me to be like, all right, I'm gonna get one now,
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
I know that Mason and I, anytime we come see Norma Jean, obviously we're checking out all the other band members up on stage and everything, but it's you in particular, man, because you beat the living shit out of the drum heads more than any other drummer I've ever seen. I mean, like, especially your floor toms, like I feel really bad for your floor toms.
Oh yeah,
Because you literally have to stand up and pound that. That's how much force you're putting into it. It's incredible, and it
Thank you, man.
works. It works
Thank you.
so
Yeah,
well. It's so much fun to watch.
it's
Generally, the drummer is not the most fun person to watch. You are one of the most fun people to watch when it comes to drums.
dude, I appreciate that. That's it's so funny. Like I love watching other drummers play. I find total enjoyment in it. But when I'm up there playing, I feel like I'm just, my brain is always, I'm just like, what do I look like? Do I look cool enough? Am I hitting this hard enough? Am I swinging this in a cool way, or am I swinging it like a wimp? I'm like asking myself, like I have like this identity crisis, like on stage when I'm playing. Sometimes it's like a natural thing where, like I will enjoy watching other musicians playing, but when I get up there and I'm like, okay, I'm just like the goofy guy trying to pull it off, and but that hard hitting thing. Funny story about that is last year we did this with this like run with Emery and Sleeper was on some of the shows, and Aaron from Under Oath was on doing acoustic stuff, acoustic songs. He was doing Southern Weather. It was pretty rad. He was doing like acoustic Southern Weather for that tour. But I was watching Dave Powell from Emery play at Soundcheck one day, and the snare drum is just like, it's got this perfect tone, this perfect sound to it. And I'm trying to watch how he hits, and I'm like, dude, I'm hitting like that, I think, right? I think I am. And I asked Dave, what's going on? I'm like, dude, how do you get your drum to sound like that? And I'm like, how are you tuning it? And Aaron comes up and he's like, it's not how he's tuning it, bro. I'm like, okay, what is it then? He goes, it's how he's playing it. So like he gets up on the kit, Aaron does on Dave's kit, and like grabs a stick and starts punching his leg. Like,
yeah, for sure.
He's like, you got to punch your leg, and as you're punching your leg, the stick's gonna hit the snare. Like in like this weird perfect way. He goes, I don't know how to explain it, but get your snare close to your leg, start punching your leg. I'm like, all right, cool. That night changed everything about how I play the kit.
Damn.
What? Yeah.
And that was last year. You're a seasoned veteran of drumming, and for you to like learn some like new things that completely changes the way you drum. That's pretty cool that you're still learning something like that years into drumming.
Exactly. And that's like I kind of knew I had like a fair idea with like the toms and the cymbals. You kind of really got to look like you're hitting them hard, but you're not really. Otherwise, you're breaking cymbals every show.
And you get bad overtones at times, right?
Yeah, I mean, drums and cymbals are only going to get so loud,
Right.
But so I had it down sort of with like toms and cymbals, but snare drum was something I always I just never really understood it until last year. Last year, I was crazy. Like, okay, there's a million ways to do it, and that's the way I want to do it, and now I know how. And
so, did you have to adjust the height of your snare? Did you have to pull it down quite a bit lower than you're used to?
Not height wise, but just like where it's sat, like further or closer to my body, like when I sit on the kit, and that rearranged the entire drum setup. The whole drum kit setup changed because of it.
Interesting. Let's talk about your history with Norma Jean and actually just like your music history in general. I
Yeah.
would imagine you were playing in bands and you were drumming prior to the first time that you were involved with Norma Jean. Can you talk a little bit about what led you in the direction to eventually start drumming for Norma Jean? Yeah, like what was kind of the history before all of the Norma Jean history?
So there was I hadn't had a whole lot of on the road touring experience. Maybe like I would say maybe like a year and a half's worth. But some of
Oh,
that was like being a roadie guy, trying to make it in my own like local bands. We would try to go out and play like weekend warrior type stuff, or we'd like, try to book our own tours and go out and do things like that. Like very DIY. You guys know what I'm talking about,
Oh
probably. It's
yeah.
like living on like, living on ramen noodles from the gas station and water bottles like for the whole tour. You know, I would go out as a tech for rock bands from like the LA area because I'm originally from there, um, making dirt. Like I just not making hardly any money, going out there and being hated on by the band. It was just like a weird time where like I knew I was young, I knew I needed to just shut up and do my work, kind of thing, and because everyone said in the industry like, oh, if you want to learn, stop talking and listen, shut up and just listen and watch what they're doing, and don't talk back, don't ask questions, don't this, that, whatever. And it was very intimidating, and I spent years doing that. Like just spent years doing that. And at the same time, when I was at home, I was in and out of the Truth Drums shop when they were in California still. The owner, Jeff, been a longtime friend of mine. And so I'd go to the shop and like, occasionally help with little things, sanding drum shells or, learning how to stain and like assemble drum kits and things like that. And he hit me up one day while I was out on a tour, and I was ready to quit this tour because I was a roadie with a band that drank way too much, and they just were uh, not the best guys to be around. And I mean, this band literally doesn't even exist anymore, so it's like, it's like neither here or there as far as who they are or anything like that. But while I was on that tour, he called me and said, "Hey, Norma Jean needs a drum tech for their next tour. Are you down to do it?" I said, "Sure." Like what's another tech gig? Like eventually I'll land something, right?
hmm
Eventually, my goal was to just get out on the road. Maybe that'll lead to something somewhere else. So this tour ended right like a day before Norma Jean's rehearsals started. So I flew from one state to another, and I meet all these guys for the first time. And all super cool dudes. It was Chris Rains, playing drums. Uh, it was Scotty and Durr and
Oh,
Jake.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. This was in 2008.
Okay.
Dang.
This
Yeah.
is like the anti-mother years.
Yeah.
Yes, it was right. They were doing their first headline tour to support Anti Mother,
Okay.
and so we get to the rehearsals and we're doing our thing, and the bus shows up, and that was my first time being able to actually meet Corey. I always Corey and I laugh about this now because like uh he like Corey is so attentive to like to people when he's talking, whether it's verbal talking or phone stuff. That day he was on his phone. So like I'm walking on the bus and I'm meeting crew people, I'm doing this and like whatever. And Corey is in the back lounge just on his phone texting. And I was like, "Hey, I'm Matt." And he's just I was like, "All right."
Just
I was
typing
like, "All right,
away.
well, I'll go get to work," like I always give him crap about that. We laugh about it a bunch, but anyway, so we get on this tour. I'm doing the drum tech thing. You're setting up, you're tearing down, you're watching on stage and make sure everything goes perfectly fine on during the show. And we got to San Diego, and we had this girl Lucy. She was doing sound for us on that tour, and we were at sound check at a venue in San Diego, and Chris from the start of the tour, if he's going to listen to this, he probably will remember. from the start of the tour, he was like, just look out, just like if there's anything that's out of whack, just let me know, And he's talking about the drum kit, he's talking about what he's playing, everything, you know. I'm like, all right. In my brain, I'm like, this is a tech's job. This is what you do. And
Got to keep it all
right.
straight.
So at that sound check, they were playing in San Diego at sound check. They were playing Bay Network, and
Okay.
before they played it, someone in the band looked at him and said, "Hey, that part at the ending, make sure you do this and this instead of this." Apparently, he was like playing it wrong. So he goes, "Hey, Marquez, do me a favor. Just listen to this. Tell me if anything between me and the band sounds weird. Like." All right, so they play the song, and this was back when they play the full Bay Network version. So the ending has like this weird rhythmic ending kind of thing. So they're playing the song, and I'm standing on the side of the stage just listening, watching, and they stop playing, and he looks at me. The stage is quiet, the venue is quiet, and I go, "That's not right." And everyone in the band was like, they didn't know that Chris told me to like point those things out. So they're just like, what did the dude what did the tech just say?
Man, he's got some balls.
Like, what is going on? Like everyone was like, what is going on here? And Lucy was on the talkback mic. She's like, somebody's gonna get fired. Like literally like, people just could not believe. So Chris Raines gets up from the seat. He's like, all right, you play it. Like he gets up, show me how you show me, whatever. And I was like, oh crap. Like I was put on the spot. I was like, I'm about to play the song that I know with the dudes that made it. And I've been teching at this point for so long that I haven't touched a drum kit in like 8 months.
Oh, geez.
So my chops are rusty. But we get through there. We get through the song, and it was just like, play the ending, just nail it. The rest of the band is like looking at each other, kind of like with a grin on their face. They're like, oh, wow. And Lucy gets back on the mic. She goes, somebody's getting fired.
And it might not be the tech.
Yeah. Oh, man. It was so funny because I can't remember exactly like the moments like after that. But I hope I didn't bum him out too hard. But it was just a funny thing to kind of realize that like there's like playing the song right or wrong 90% of the time, little things like that wouldn't be noticed unless like some of these fans are the diehards. They'll know, they'll be like, oh, that was weird, that was wrong.
That's Mason and
I play stuff differently all the time,
Yeah.
And so for me it was a matter of like just at the time being that pressure of like, oh, I'm about to play drums in front of this band, I better get it right.
Yeah.
So fast forward to a couple of years afterwards, when Chris was talking about leaving the band was like, what should we do? And apparently the first thing he said was, hey, call that guy Matt from several years back. Like he clearly knows the songs. And Corey did that. I was literally at home. Like I wasn't on tour. I wasn't in a band. I did a fill-in tour for a band that didn't work out really well. I finished the whole tour, but there was just like a weird energy with myself and their like management team. Not really sure what happened there, but because of that, it was just like, you're not going to keep touring with us. We're going to send you home. And, it was kind of and that was one of those moments where also, when you do this business, there are going to be times like that. You will be successful and complete a gazillion tours, and there will be some tours where no matter how hard you work, no matter how cool you are with everybody, you get sent home because someone upstairs is like, just doesn't like you. So so I've had big wins, and I also got canned pretty hard. And so I was working at the Bass Pro Shops when Corey called me. Corey was like, dude, come play in my band. And I was like, I haven't heard from this guy in years. He's like sending me text messages and calling me like 5 or 6, 7 times in a row. And I'm like, this sounds weird. Yeah. He was like, they didn't even really ask me to try out per se, as like you mostly would in other bands. They were just like, come play. I was like, all right. So they sent me a list of songs. I learned them, and then I was on the road with them. This was in 2010. My first tour with Norma Jean was playing drums was in 2010. With we did a tour with Alexis on Fire in
Oh
Canada.
wow.
Yeah, it was a Canadian run.
And that was that right after Meridional came out? So like you had to learn a whole new set of songs?
Yeah, so I had to learn the old ones plus a bunch of like brand new ones, and I hadn't heard the record yet. Even though the record just came out.
Oh damn.
And I wasn't familiar enough with those songs, but we managed pretty well. I mean, Corey was like, "Here's a list of songs that we tend to play on tours," and it was like 30 songs.
Yeah.
I learned all of them before getting out to the first rehearsal, thinking that,
That's
oh
a
my
pro
gosh,
right there.
yeah, and they didn't even expect me to, but I just did it, because I was just being like very tenacious uh, about being prepared for the job, being prepared for the gig. What if they wanted to see if they can go out on the road and change up the songs in the set list, halfway through?
Yeah.
Like I needed to be able to do that. So yeah, I ended up learning like 30 something songs in like, I want to say like a week or two before
Oh my
rehearsals.
God. Oh, so
Dude,
nerve-wracking.
I was
Yikes.
behind my kit every day for just hours and hours and hours. And then when I wasn't behind the kit, I was at home listening in headphones to more songs. And then next day, just get back in there. Like I bailed on my job. I bailed on everything. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go play drums in a rock and roll band now. And just put my whole mind to that. Like all my mind and time was just spent on that.
Bass Pro Shops didn't know what they lost.
No,
So you were in the band for a little while, but then you ended up leaving, and then obviously you came back later. Can you talk a little bit about kind of that transition period of, what were you doing in the meantime? Why did you initially leave, and kind of what were you doing right after that, and then what brought you back into the band?
Yeah. So, what was it? Yeah, I was still playing with like local bands and stuff like in California. And at the time I was playing with a band called End the Century in 2009. That band split, and then when I got the opportunity with Norma Jean a year later, it was just like I was like, cool, I'm gonna go pursue this. It's gonna be awesome. At the time, I wasn't sure where I was going in the band. I was like, am I just a fill-in touring guy? I don't know. And I'd already done like 3 or 4 tours, so I wasn't sure about what was next. And as a musician, like at that point, you really got to think about what's next.
Mm.
Some of the members from that band, End the Century, started a new project, and they were sending me songs. They were like, "Dude, it'd be sick if when you're not on tour, come record drums on this stuff." I was like, "Sure." I ended up getting these demos and I was like, this is good. I was like, this is actually really good. And so I started doing the Norma Jean stuff. I was on the road for like a month, and I'd be home for a month, and we would be working on finishing like an EP, with a vocalist and everything. The band is called Hardest, and we put together this EP. We started releasing songs slowly on like YouTube. Some of the guys in the band were like huge gamers, so like some of the Hardest guys would network with gamers on YouTube, be like, "Hey, like on your montage video, use our song." And there was one guy who did it who has like 100,000 subscribers or something like that.
Oh damn.
And when he posted it, our song just blew up. And literally in like less than a month of being like a established band with a record out, we didn't even release the whole record. We only put out a few songs, and 2 of them were in video games things on YouTube. And already in that month that the YouTube stuff was picking up, we were getting interest from like Fearless Records, Roadrunner. That we had, I think let's see, Equal Vision. We had labels like being like, "Oh, hey, like we need to talk. We need to talk." And so I started sitting there. I'm like, "Crap."
What
I
now?
mean, yeah, I'm like what is going to happen here? and we hadn't even played a show. Like, we never even played a live show. But the music was just blowing up on YouTube, and so labels were like, "We need to talk to you guys," and like, "We want to offer you deals," and they started skipping all this like big talk and just started throwing contracts at us.
Jeez.
And I was still touring with Norma Jean at the time, and then other producers in the area that got whiff of this of us of our existence at all were just like, "Hey, I heard you guys might be signing to this label. Let me make a free song for you guys, and let's see if we can, land a deal, like a solid production deal with the label." And
That has
one
to
of
be
them,
kind of surreal. Just like all this, you'd been working so hard trying to kind of establish yourself,
yeah,
and you get thrown this sweet deal, drumming with Norma Jean, and you like it, and then all of a sudden, like this whole other route shows up, and it's very enticing. I don't know what I would do in that situation.
it's crazy. We were talking with labels about stuff, and we we ultimately made the decision to sign with Roadrunner, which obviously, looking back on that, was not the greatest decision that I've ever made in my music career. But it still had its share of adventures. And one of the adventures was meeting this producer, Eric Ron, in LA. And he, at the time, was he was getting off the ground in his career as a producer and a writer, and he wanted to work with us. So he did a song with us and sent it to the label, and the label was like, "This is great. Maybe you guys should do more." And so we're thinking, we're going to be able to do this record, and Eric is really going to help us, like soar. At the same time, I was still doing Norma Jean stuff, and I actually had to finally make a decision, and I ended up telling the guys, before doing a Europe tour. I said, "Here's the situation. There's this thing, an opportunity here at home with this band. It's pretty serious. I didn't expect for this to happen, but it's happening." And I told them honestly that I still was on the fence. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And the guys were like, "Yeah, just let us know." Like they were super cool about it. And throughout the course of the tour, I started seeing emails with more details about this contract that we were getting with Roadrunner and everything like that. And I was like, okay, this is going to be very involving. I need to go. I need to try it. I need to see. At the time I was in a different place than I am now, and I was like, I need to just see what this is about. I'm not a permanent at the time with Norma Jean. I wasn't really like I was touring and I was like starting to help write with them, but I didn't have any contractual obligations or anything like that. And I wasn't sure if some of the guys wanted me to be a permanent fixture of the band. Like, I think Corey was the only one I was like, oh, I know Corey wants me to stick around, like for sure. Yeah. But I was real with them. I was like, I think I'm going to go pursue this opportunity with Hardest. I just got to see, where this goes. And I told them when we were in Russia, right before going on stage, and they were like, "Yeah, dude, hell yeah, like go for it, and congrats on everything, and we wish you the best. Let's go out there tonight and have a blast."
That's awesome.
They were super cool about it, yeah. And and when I say that, I mean that like it's super cool that I know what kind of hit it is for a band to lose a member. So for them to still like take that sort of pill and be like, all right, we're good, like we'll figure something out. That was a huge moment for me in career-wise learning. Like I was learning still other levels of like professionalism and things like that. So then I did the Hardest thing for a couple of years, and that was, like I said, it was very involving. We were going all over the place, photo shoots here, music video shoots there. We were meeting with these people in LA or New York to have meetings about how to talk on the phone for interviews. We were meeting with,
What?
yeah,
You're
there was like
having
instructors.
instructions as how to talk on the phone?
Yeah, like the PR instructors, they're like, "Oh, like here's how to conduct yourself in an interview on the
That's a
phone."
thing?
Apparently, like it was,
What?
yeah.
What are you,
There was a lot of
Madonna?
weird stuff. There was a lot of weird stuff where they were like, "Oh, like you have to like," um, they were big, obviously on image. Major labels are, you know,
So
major
what
labels.
kind of what kind of image did they want you to have? I mean, obviously it's not like it's not a pop it's not a pop label. So like do they want you to like dress in leather jackets and pretend to be this badass and smoke a cigarette all the time and
It's not
or
like
like while you're
outfit.
on your interview or what do
It,
they want?
it wasn't outfit specific, but it was more like, you know, like if you're going to be about this type of thing, be all the way about it.
Mm.
And so, like, if you wear plaid shirts, get a gazillion plaid shirts and, whatever, like, or
We're going to restart grunge.
yeah, like, I mean, like, we would go to these photo shoots and it wasn't just showing up like with whatever you brought and a photographer. They had like full on like wardrobe vans show up and they would roll in racks full of like shirts and pants and
What?
everything. And we would have to sit there with when like pick out what we're gonna wear for the music video, pick out what we're gonna wear for this photo shoot. And it was crazy. It was so crazy. Right down to like, are we wearing, accessories, necklaces, bracelets, whatever? It was like there was a few photo shoots that were like that, and I was like, what is going
I
on
had
here?
I had no idea this existed in like the alternative music world.
Dude? Well, because okay, so when they signed us, and I obviously now know this, they were thinking what they heard musically that they could literally turn us into the next Nickelback. Not they thought they could turn us into the next like big like Nickelback type band, not metalcore,
Yeah.
not no breakdowns, whatever. Like, like if they probably would have been stoked if I got rid of my China symbol. They're like, probably been like, oh, this guy's serious about his future. Like he's getting rid of the China symbol. Like yeah.
So they wanted an active rock hit.
Very big
Radio
active
hit.
rock.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Man.
And obviously like you didn't become the next Nickelback. So things change and Norma Jean welcomes you back.
Yeah, so things with Hardest kind of fell apart, but where things really started to ramp up for me was that producer Eric Ron that we worked with. After the first song that Hardest did with him, he literally called me back into his studio the next day to play drums for an artist that came in from the Chicago area, I think. And after that, he and I established this really cool relationship where I would come in anytime he needed solid drums for his album recordings. And so as Hardest kind of started slowing down, falling apart there, after the label dropped us, I would go figure. Like they put way more money into this thing than a band was going to recoup. They used outdated business models. But
sounds like it.
So I was yeah. So I was able to start doing a lot of session recordings with Eric and some other producers, and that kept me busy for a while. I played drums on Siler's Help album, which was like a big one that really started kind of establishing my means as like a session musician outside of specific bands. Kind of got me talking about like, oh, like I can actually maybe pursue this. I never thought about being a session drummer until Eric came along and proved to me that maybe I could.
Well, here's a quick question I've always wanted
Yeah.
to ask someone who's done session work, especially as a drummer. Do you ever, you have the band in there, maybe the band's not there. But like, did you ever get like a drummer that was like kind of pissed off that you were writing his parts for him or doing his parts for him or anything like that? I mean, I got to imagine that in the music world, especially, there's a lot of
ego,
broken hearts when they go to record and they bring in just an absolute pro like yourself to come lay down a track.
Yeah. So that Siler record, actually, they came into the studio with a drummer who they've always been, I guess, doing live shows with. I'm not sure how long he was in the band, but I'd assumed if he was there at the studio with them that he was probably there in the band like for a while. But when he apparently got behind the kit for the studio, Eric was like, "No, we're gonna have to, we're gonna save some time here, and we're gonna get someone else in." And he was not happy. He was not happy. The band was trying to talk to him and be like, "Hey, dude, like this could be a huge learning thing for you. This might be an opportunity for you to like really see like what goes into, you know, being at this caliber of musicianship or whatever as a drummer, this, that, and the other." And he was like, "Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Okay. Like I'll see what, I don't really know how it exactly transpired, but the plan was he was going to just sort of uh, shadow me while I'm in there working. And when I got there, he was nowhere to be found. He went out on the town like every day and he was just like partying or just doing whatever and just didn't want to be around me. And I was like, that's fine. Like
Oh,
I
dang.
there have been other instances where drummers are not stoked on the fact that I have to come in and be the one to do stuff. And which is fine because I've been replaced before. Like
Yeah,
it happens. But being Eric's like go-to guy for his projects, he's done some really cool stuff over the years, and we've done some cool things together. Um, yeah, so there have been instances. Most of the time, though, the bands come in knowing that they're going to be using a session drummer. So there
sure.
isn't even any drummer there to disappoint or upset at all. You know?
That's good at
Yeah,
least.
yeah. You know,
That'd be so I don't think I could be that guy. That'd be so tough.
Oh, what the guy that can't record it?
The guy that
Yeah.
gets replaced just in that moment being like, "This is my drum piece though. Come
You
on.
know,
I've worked so hard for
yeah. I
this."
mean, it's
But it's gonna sound better. I mean, that's just the part that's got to get through.
well, it's one of those things that uh I don't know, like I guess because I've been like I said earlier, I've been canned before from gigs and it sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks. Like I was dropped off at an airport in Oklahoma, in the middle of the night, like before,
Oh
and been like,
shit.
"Here's your ticket, here's all your bags, here's your stuff, bye." You know.
Mm.
Oh my god, that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. I don't even think the guy that did that to me is even working in the industry anymore. Kind of hope not, but whatever. But a little
Karma.
bit. But so that sort of stuff though really transpired into other things that I didn't expect. I was in the studio playing drums for the band Slaves um, on their Beautiful Death album, and after that record was done, sometime before the record release, they wanted to do some touring, and they asked me to come out on the road with them, um, which was sick. I was like, "Cool, I'm down. I'll do it." I did an Australia tour and a U.S. tour with them um, in 2017, and while I was out in Australia, Norma Jean had asked me if I would be able to play some shows with them. I'm trying to think. Yeah, they asked me to play some shows with them in like it was like an August thing, and we were touring in July. So I was like, yeah, I'll be able to, make that happen. It was only like 5 or 6 shows, like a bunch of Texas dates or something like that. And I'd already committed to that because I was like, I need to fill my schedule here.
The next thing, right?
Right, the next
Just like
thing.
you were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So Slaves is wanting to go to Europe, and I told him I was like, I can't. I got stuff with Norma Jean. They're like, all right, yeah, for sure, no worries. Um, and I went and go play those Norma Jean shows. Um, so then I come back home, and if I remember right, there was like it was like a year ish or something, 2 years before Corey called me again and was like, "Hey, would you be down to come to the studio?" And this was when they were getting ready to make All Hail. So would you be down to come to the studio and just like hang and stuff? Because you know they were going to be in need of a drummer again.
Mhm.
And it wasn't exactly planned for me to actually even play drums on All Hail. It was more of a just like, hey, we want you to start touring with us, but we need you to know these songs and this, that, and the other. Come to the studio while we make the record, and come hang out or whatever. And I'm like, sure, because they were in a position where they didn't have a drummer again. And Corey's like, what do we do? His wife was like, call Matt. And he's like, call Matt, like he kind of low key, I think, knew that I was hoping to come back to the band, eventually.
Yeah.
But in my brain, I was like, once you leave a band, what are the chances that you'd be able to come back?
Right.
I'm not Jesse Leach, like, so it's one of those things where it's like, what are the chances that sort of stuff doesn't really happen often. But when I got to the studio, when I was getting ready to fly, I got a text from Corey saying, hey, you might need to learn a few songs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll
Like,
do it
all
on
right,
the plane.
I mean, that's fine, like send me some demos. I got some demos, and I was listening to them on the plane. And when I got there, they had told me that basically they told me that I was going to be playing on the whole record. And I was like, what happened? What's going on here?
They're just roping you in.
Yeah, I was like, I don't
Love
even
it.
know what's going on really. But what happened was Will Putney, the producer, was working with the band, and Corey's brother Matt had been helping with a lot of the writing for the drum stuff for All Hail, and which he did an amazing job on that stuff. And for anyone that doesn't know, I really still feel like Matt Putman and myself, we make a great team, because I feel like, sure, I can like hit hard, and I can like, play along to like, I could play along to Grayson's writing like all day, but Matt is the one who really comes in and is like, try this, try that, do this, do that. And I'm like, that is so crazy. He like challenges everything I ever knew about drumming all the time. So, and this started with All Hail. Like,
That's cool. That's
yeah.
so cool. That's not something that I think a lot of pros like yourself, someone who's been a session drummer and everything like that, would be willing to say.
It's one of those things for me that I'm never afraid to admit when I'm good at something or not,
Yeah.
I mean, even back when I was getting ready to leave Norma Jean to pursue Hardest for a while, I told Corey that I don't think I'm a fit for this band. I told him that. I was like, I could learn the songs and play them live, but when it comes to writing, I don't think I'm a fit for it, and he was like, nah, dude, don't say that. Don't say that. And for years, he's always been like, dude, he's like, you crush it. You're great. And I have my own like insecurities as a musician. I think that I would have to like navigate around that I haven't yet. but so Matt helped me get through All Hail a lot, because I could learn the stuff, but then like things were ever changing. It was like, oh, it's tracking day, and you already spent 2 days working on this song and changing things. Now we're going to track it, and you're still going to change more things. It was brutal. It was really brutal. But what happened was Matt came in to do all the help them finish writing this record, and Will Putney goes, hey, Matt Putman is a great drummer, but he's not going to record the record. You guys need to get someone else. And the rest of the band was like, well, we just been sitting here for the last year, like help with him, writing stuff with us.
Yeah.
And Matt is one of the most creative minds that I know. And so I think for Will, it was just like, oh, we need this kind of drumming, and Matt is like a very creative drummer, but apparently like I'm the guy that just like slams the crap out of everything. And he's a very Matt Putman's a finesse player. He plays a lot of really sick grooves, a lot of cool finesse in his drumming and stuff. And I'm just like caveman bashing, And so
it's like Pete Best, Ringo Starr.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, gosh, I can't say enough good stuff about him, because like we're like a power and what is it? It's like
power couple.
Strength and Brains, like
Oh,
Brains
like
and Brawn. Yeah.
yeah,
Thunder
kind
and
of
Lightning.
yeah, one of those things. Like we're just like a really cool duo when it comes to doing all the Norma Jean stuff.
I
Like
didn't realize how much involvement he had with Norma Jean stuff.
Yeah, I didn't either.
it really, yeah, he's had a hand in like in so many of the records in the past, and especially on Death Rattle. Um, it was very easy to. I wrote the music for the song Memorial Horde,
Oh
and
yeah.
I sent the song to him with some guitars and drums on it, and I was like, do your Matt Putton thing on this, you know. And he literally in like an hour sent it back to me with all these cool ethereal sounding things all over it, and I was just like, dude, this is insane. It is so it was and so he makes it so easy to like really help layer a record and like put he has a touch that makes him literally like a sixth like ghost member of the band.
Yeah, there's been something that's been going on with Norma Jean. There was a little bit in like Meridional, not so much on Wrongdoers, but everything after Wrongdoers, where it feels like every record has its own soul. Um, and I think it is kind of like that. Uh, I don't know if it's that etherealness or what it is exactly, but I wonder if it's maybe Putnam stuff going on in there that's
A lot
adding
of
that.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that folks hear on Norma Jean records, any of the noisy things between songs or after songs, like that, like the old tape creepy sounds and everything.
Yeah,
A lot of that is Matt. Like most of
really.
it, yeah. Because like we'll work on these songs and we'll sit down with him and be like, all right, we're looking for this kind of thing, we're looking for that kind of thing here, and sometimes he'll just be like, middle of the night, I'll be like, hey, I have this idea. Let me know what you guys think, and he'll play it, and it's just this mixture of cool and creepy, eerie sounds, like that are looped into groove in a way, and just it's awesome.
I think that that's why when it comes to Norma Jean, like I very rarely, except for some of like the earlier songs, or earlier record songs, I very rarely will just listen to one song at a time, right? I mean, I'm going to listen to a whole Norma Jean record if I'm going to listen to a Norma Jean record.
Mhm.
And I think that that's why it feels like a journey. It feels like a story that's kind of cohesive in a way, at least sonically.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, we all work together to obviously the songs. We make sure that the songs make sense
Yeah.
because like the songs that we have for say Death Rattle, that came from a list of like 40 tracks, that
Jeez.
ideas that Grayson and Corey and myself like all put together. We're like, oh, we like all of these, and those 40 came from a thing of like 100 of Grayson's riffs. Like Grayson's a writing machine. Um, but at any old time when an idea gets sent out, it gets sent out to me, Corey, and Matt Putman. So from the get go, an idea like that comes from somewhere, you know, Matt's always hearing it. Matt's always there. He was in the studio for most of the. He was actually in the studio for most of the recording of Death Rattle. He was there for part of All Hail. I don't know if he was there a lot for Wrongdoers, but I know that he also did a lot of stuff for um, Meridional. Now, the other thing to note too is that Jeremy Griffith, producer for Death Rattle, also did Meridional, and he's also mixed some stuff too for Norma Jean. Jeremy has a really good ear for that sort of stuff too.
Yeah.
What we'll call sound design. He has a
Yeah.
really good ear for the sound design stuff. Like, and so, uh, especially on Death Rattle, like Matt did a lot of really cool things. Like the album starts the way it does because of Matt, you know. Um, but then there's moments in songs like Heartache where there's like a lot of synthy string kind of stuff, where Jeremy Griffith did a bunch of that stuff, you know.
And I always felt like that sound design is what really sets Norma Jean apart from a lot of other bands that might sound
Yeah.
somewhat similar. Like you guys are so good at, obviously writing riffs, and a lot of other bands are really good at writing riffs. A lot of other bands hit the drums heavy, just like you. But what sets Norma Jean really apart sound wise is that sound design, is that there's just like these ethereal, interesting elements that aren't exactly like musical notes or anything. They're not certain kind of instruments. They're just noises that just really set the band apart. And it's part of the reason why I love Norma Jean so much. It's why you guys are one of my favorite artists of all time, because you guys are so set apart in that sound design.
I got to give the credit to those guys, like especially Matt, because um, we we work with him for those reasons. We work with people like Jeremy Griffith for those reasons, because it's like, oh, they get what we need. They get what we want. They understand it.
Hmm.
They understand that this band like needs that kind of stuff integrated
Yeah.
into music and stuff. They just understand how to really like glue this together. We bring a lot of colors and everything to a record, and I feel like they are the ones that pick the brushes, to really like put, get it all together in a painting. It's awesome.
I mean, I've heard Norma Jean, at least Corey described Norma Jean as like a collaborative project among a
Mhm.
lot of different people. And even though Corey has been the through line for Norma Jean for all these years now, it does feel like every time there's a little different iteration, because there might be a new drummer, there might be a new bassist, there might be a new guitarist, and it sounds like you have someone like Matt or Jeremy, but there's just this collaboration of all these different people, but yet there's still like this distinctive Norma Jean sound, even though you can mix and match lots of people in and out of that um, equation. There's still like this Norma Jean sound, this quintessential Norma Jean sound, but yet every record also sounds a little different too, which is really great. So anyway, I just find that really, really cool. As much as there's this collaboration, there's still like very much this theme that you get in Norma Jean. And anyway, I've heard Corey talk a little bit about that before, and it's really cool to hear that reinforced by kind of how you're describing how albums come together for Norma Jean.
Right. That's literally like just at the most literal explanation of the collaborative part of it is people like Matt, you know, sitting by my drum kit while I'm tracking, going, try and play it this way, try and play it that way, you know, and sitting at his computer and being like, this sound of rain sounds cool. I'm gonna reverse it and loop it and put it over this old tape sound. Like you know, collaboration is key. I don't think that I don't believe that any successful band does it all by themselves,
Right.
Yeah.
you know. Um, but bands pick producers based on what they feel those producers can bring to the table for their music.
Totally.
Um, and Matt is a fantastic producer. So his production work on Norma Jean records in the past is a big key to, you know, uh, it says a lot about obviously the chemistry that Corey and Matt have as brothers, but also Matt's dedication to what Norma Jean is, and always making sure that what we're doing is new, but somehow it's still always Norma Jean.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
One of
That
my
that
favorite noise things that you hear in a Norma Jean album is on Polar Similar. I always forget the name of songs, but in Polar Similar, there's that one track that has like that tornado warning thing go off, like like the emergency whatever, like when you hear like on your TV or whatever, and there's a tornado warning that goes off, you
right?
hear that noise, and then it's just like it sounds like a tornado. It just sounds like this creepy or this creepy and eerie sound. Anyway, that's one of my favorites that has ever been included in Norma Jean for one of those types of noises, and my guess is maybe Matt was behind that one too.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing about it is that like all of us are always listening for we're all, and this is because of Matt. We're always listening for things. Uh, we're always listening for things that we can be like, that would sound cool. That would sound cool. And we're doing this in our daily lives. just recently, like my wife and I were driving to, um, we were just like running errands around town with the kids in the car. I get out and I hear a train horn like real far away, but what I hear between the train horns is that low rumble of the train engine.
Mm.
And it was like really loud. It was loud. I was like, that rumbling sound. I want that. I want that. You know?
How cool would it be
So
if you could like lay down a rhythm to that as well,
right.
a
You
drum
know,
rhythm
right. If
that could
there's like
like
some sort of noise in the midst of it that can just loop over and over, I was like, and these are all things that Matt has us like doing now because we're like, oh, that's what he does, and we're seeing how well it works. And so I know for me personally, uh, like I'm in my studio right now, but my studio is like train tracks. I'm like, oh, one of these days I'm gonna just put a microphone outside in the
just
middle of the
walk out there
night,
and do it.
yeah, and just like capture that train sound because like I learned from him that you might hear a train in the microphone, but when you're done with it, it's not gonna be that.
It's not going to sound like a train. Yeah.
No.
Love that. What could we expect from Norma Jean in the future? Obviously, you guys just released Death Rattle last year, so I can't imagine that there's like a new album already on the horizons. But yeah, what can we expect? You guys have been touring like madmen lately. Can we expect maybe more touring? Anyway, like what can we expect from Norma Jean here in the next year or so?
We are talking about trying to make some stuff happen uh in summertime. Like nothing's concrete yet. Um, but we're playing Furnace Fest later this year, so we're definitely gonna be making plans.
Yeah.
We'll be
Yeah,
there. Let's see if we can make it go viral again.
yeah, right.
We're going to have to
uh,
get like 10 people to do it this time.
yeah, just like a whole like line of people. Yeah, so we're gonna see about planning some stuff before and after that, obviously. And it's too soon to say like when we're gonna like get back out on the road again, but um, I know that I've seen some emails about some summer stuff, so we'll see
Nice.
if that comes to fruition. Yeah, and I
Sweet.
mean, and as far as writing goes, I mean, literally, we're always writing. Like even after All Hail was released, we were already writing for. We were sort of already piecing together songs that became Death Rattle songs. So like we're always doing something musically. Like we just it just doesn't stop.
Are
Love
most
it.
of you all in Arkansas, right? I think Corey lives in Arkansas.
Are
Like, are
you
you?
in Jersey?
Corey and Grayson are in Arkansas. Michael is in Missouri. Clay lives in Tennessee. He's in Memphis, and I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh,
Oh,
Michigan.
wow.
Okay.
So you
Yeah,
guys are probably just like, recording like a little thing here or there in your bedrooms and then like, sending that over a cloud, that kind of thing. Is that how you guys are like sharing any of the new writing stuff that you guys are always coming up with?
yeah. So like, I have like a whole like studio setup that I'm able to like write stuff and send them things. And that's how we did it, most of it for Death Rattle, because at the time things were weird with flying and you
Right.
know uh, the bulk of the writing was during 2020, and so like
Okay.
it was still people were unsure about flights and like traveling and this that and the other, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So um this time around we want to try and get back to the way we usually would try to do things. We just get in a room together, you know just get in a room together and start playing through stuff and start messing around with ideas. I mean, I'll still sit at this desk if I hear like some ideas that Grayson's working on or something, and I'll like cool, I'm gonna put some drum stuff to this, and you know, uh, or just like change a guitar riff or something like that and send it back. So it's literally just happening on all fronts. It'll be, when we're at home, it's going to be this computer stuff. When we can, we're going to get in person and get into a room together and start bringing some songs to life.
Love it. That's
Love it.
awesome. All right, Matt, it is
We ready?
time for the top 5 most influential albums of your life.
Okay,
Are you ready?
I am.
All right. You can start in whatever order you want. You can go in no order if you want. It's up to you, man.
That's fair. uh, the most influential first for me is going. I gotta say that it's gonna be uh, reinventing the steel from Pantera.
Oh,
Naturally.
That
dang.
was yeah, that was one that album was the album one that made me realize that I wanted to start learning how to play double kick drum. I was like, oh, I want to learn how to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely a guy who hits hard too. Uh, well known for it.
yeah, like 'cause you can hear it in his playing style.
Yeah.
He's not playing the fastest stuff all the time. He's playing stuff that is open enough for him to really just beat the piss out of everything, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and
That's it. It became entrenched in your DNA early on. Then I can tell.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um, the next one for me would be Slipknot's Iowa album.
for
Mm.
sure.
Not only did that really kind of transform the way I was starting to perceive like heavier drumming, but like it made me realize too that that emotion in that record is what I wanted to start conveying to people. You
Mm,
know, it was that album influentially like it wasn't just about drums. It was about just this album is angry. This album is dark, you know.
very.
Yeah. So and the fact that there's a drum solo in one of the songs, it's just like right there in the middle. You know,
Yeah.
like, oh, who does that? Slipknot, you know?
Yeah. John Bonham and Slipknot. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's
That's
hard to
almost
believe. It's hard to believe they're from Iowa. That still like kind of blows my mind. Like you think of the average Iowa person, you don't think of
Yeah.
someone that's in Slipknot.
yeah, that's true. But they, you know, they
It's
kind of
very true.
explained it in like some of their older DVDs or like videos and stuff about how like there's nothing else to do out there. So the band became the biggest outlet that they could ever dream of. They just turned it into that, you know.
Yeah.
So I part of me that
100%. Mason and I are from South Dakota, so I mean we're basically in the same boat
yeah.
there. There is nothing to do except for go freeze your balls off outside.
Yeah. Oh my
That's about
gosh.
it.
And smell sewage outside the venue.
Yeah.
I remember this.
So you're talking about in Sioux
Yeah.
Falls? That was actually not
What was it?
sewage. That was the pork producing plant that's right down the road.
Whoa.
It smells like that year round. You should smell it in the
Oh my
summertime.
gosh,
It's really
Even
ripe.
better when the air is warm.
that's wild. Um
Yeah.
It's
Good
another
times.
record. Oh, here's a big one. Seven Dust Animosity.
Mm.
Mm,
Listen to the drumming on that one. The way that dude can groove heavy music is just mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. And his drumming
oh
is
yeah.
in control of the music on that record.
Oh, 100%. I think every drummer is technically in
Yeah,
control.
but I mean, like
Um,
in the sense of
it,
like
but in that one especially,
he's
yeah.
such a he. There's so many little nuances in his playing that, and the band is not ignoring any of it. There's so
Yeah.
many recordings where drummers have these cool little parts and flares and things like that, and I can hear them being overlooked by a guitarist or bass player. They they wanted a sound that followed and mimicked his every move. And that's what they
Showcase it.
did on
Yeah.
that album.
Yeah.
And his and just the fact that I've that dude makes the coolest half note, or what is it? Yeah, I think it's like half note uh open hi-hat grooves. He just does the coolest like open grooves like for how heavy their music can be. He just I can't explain it. His kick patterns, the way he does not try to play fast, he actually just sits there and just opens things up a bunch.
Yeah.
And I don't know if y'all have ever seen him play live. The dude is
No.
mind blowing. Look up any videos on YouTube. Morgan Rose, Seven Dust.
All right.
You've never seen anything like it. I promise. Like the
Sick.
way he
I'm down.
plays, you've never seen anything like it. It's crazy.
So
Um,
you got Pantera, Slipknot, Seven Dust. Are
Seven
those the
Dust.
only three, or is there?
there's three, so I got a fourth
Okay.
one here.
Okay.
Um, uh, The Amalgamate by Filter.
Oh, yes. So underrated in my
Dude,
opinion, all the way
yes.
around.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
whole record, for me, um, I remember listening to certain songs on repeat from that record. Um, but a lot of it had to do with the fact that like um, I was younger when that record came out. It was like early 2000s, right?
Yep.
That record came out,
I think so.
and I'm still discovering at this point the kind of drummer that I even want to be. Like I've you know, but like that record challenged me to start mixing in a little bit of finesse with all the hard slamming that I'm doing. You know?
Yeah, that album's got so much dynamic to it.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah. Super, super cool record. Super awesome. There's an awesome atmosphere about that album they haven't gotten on any other Filter record.
I agree.
You know, I was like, man, this thing sounds massive. The melodies are super cool. Like the vocal lines to me are very like I love dirty melodies, and that's what
Yes.
that record to me is really dirty melodies. So yeah,
Yes.
that was a cool one because that one actually really helped me in the sense of like if I were to write a song, how would I write it? What would I try to you know what I mean? Like what am I going to try and get out of a melodic part of a song here? I always turn back to that album when I'm like thinking about something more melodic or something explosive with, you know, power or something like that. I'm like,
I
yeah,
love that.
always
Do you ever see those like Instagram or TikTok or YouTube videos where like uh drummers will be like, "Yeah, I'm going to play Norma Jean in the style of let's say like Meshuggah or something like that."
right.
And like how they would change it. Do you ever like try to exercise that and be like, I wonder how I would play this song if it was Filter instead of me?
Kind of. Yeah, dude, just recently actually on this last tour, um, we would sound check with part of Heartache before the show started. But then Grayson and I always just kind of like really feed off each other. He would start playing this really pretty melody kind of thing that resembled Heartache, but isn't
Mm.
actually Heartache. And I would go back and I'd start putting drums over it. And we actually, as a full band, would start jamming this whole reimagined version of Heartache. Um, and it was so crazy. One of our crew dudes, Jack, got a video of it. I have to have him send it to me actually, but we played this whole like reimagined version of Heartache that we just started jamming it right on the spot. But we knew where all the dynamic moments were in the original song, so we just mimicked that.
Yeah.
It was just a totally different experience, and it was the whole band minus Corey. Like it was the whole band playing this whole different version of it. It was so cool. I was like, different guitar sounds, different like slightly different drum patterns, and like you know, just really reimagining it. And I started thinking about some of these more melodic bands I was influenced by. You know, I'm like, oh, the drums would go like this, and the drums would probably feel like this. Exactly what you're talking about. And we actually started doing that, like with one of our own songs recently.
What if
That's
you
so
just
cool.
like pulled that out live one time and
I
just played it in like a completely reimagined style and
I
just
would love
like be like, all right, Corey, figure it out.
yeah, I would love to do something like that, like where it's sort of out of left field, but it's sort of like we know in the set there's going to be this improvised moment, you know. So
Yeah.
the fans could be like, "Oh, what is this?" But like we play like a reimagined version that segues into, you know, the song,
Yeah.
something like that. I think it'd be really cool.
You know, this is kind of a random tangent, but I always hate when people say this when they're like, "Oh my god, that show was so great; it sounded just like the record." I'm just like, why the hell would you go then? Like, yeah, I get it.
You've
Like,
already
well,
heard the
sure,
record.
you've already heard the record. Like, sure, you get to see them live do it, but like, why wouldn't you want to see someone do something cool and different and maybe reimagine like you're talking about? I think it'd be
Yeah, I
sweet.
mean, I think a lot of that comes from there's there was a period, I think, in like the 2010s where a lot of bands were recording records with this insane production quality and everything like that, but then they would go out and into the live music world, and, excuse me, and they would just kind of blow it.
Phone it in. Yeah. Couldn't quite do
And
it.
then you found out that the drums were computers, and then the voice was like severely auto-tuned and everything like that. And they would get out
Right.
there, and half their music is on click tracks, and then they, it's like the laptop takes a dive, and they're not even really, playing.
Right.
It's like, oh, and I know, like, I get that times change and this, that, and the other, and there's like technologies evolve. I use a lot of the tools, computer drums, all that stuff. I use a lot of stuff here for
Yeah.
songwriting and stuff. It's like I'm still building a studio. I don't have a live drum room. I can't play guitar, so I use MIDI guitars.
Yeah.
So there's places for all that stuff. But yeah, when people get stoked about a band sounding like the record, I think it comes from the fact that they've probably gone to a lot of shows and seen a lot of bands that just aren't
Blow.
as good live. Yeah. It's like I love the ones where people will say, oh, the band sounds better than their recording. I love
That I'm
those.
down with. That I'm
Yeah.
down with.
It's like, oh, they sound better live than they do on their recording. That to me is always a big
Right.
compliment.
Totally.
I think you got one more album, right?
Yep.
Do
One
I?
more album.
Oh yeah. Gosh. I can't even think of it right now. Give me a sec here. It's gonna come to me.
Yeah, no, you're good. We can edit this too. So if you need 10 minutes, take 10 minutes, man.
You've had Filter, you've had Seven Dust, you've had Pantera, you've had Slipknot.
Mm-hmm.
Got one more.
One more.
Maybe something out of left field.
Something out of left field.
Yeah.
I mean,
Share.
okay. Here's the left field. This will be the biggest left fielder.
ABBA.
Garth Brooks.
No
Oh.
way.
Yeah.
Garth Brooks, not Chris Gaines.
Not Chris Gaines. Not Chris Gaines. Garth Brooks is the reason I even decided I wanted to play drums.
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
Garth Brooks?
When I was a kid, yeah.
Was there one album in particular?
What album is it? I can't remember the album name, but it has a song called Beaches of Cheyenne on it.
Okay.
And I remember hearing, so like I was brought up on, the 90s country and stuff like that. I wasn't brought up on classic rock and like, I wasn't really brought up like in the 80s world, like 80s rock and metal and stuff like
Sure.
that. I was brought up on country stuff. And my parents had this big fancy Bose sound system in the living room. And I remember hearing Beaches of Cheyenne from Garth Brooks. And I'd always heard the song in the car. We'd always I hear it in the car going to school, or we'd go on family vacations. You hear Garth Brooks all the time. My brothers and I, that's all we wanted to hear, but I was like 9 years old, I think. And we were listening to one of the CDs in the house, and I heard the thumping of the kick drum. And I was like, what is that? And I kept starting the song over. I'm hearing the thump, and my parents are like, what is going on? They walk in. What are you doing? I'm like trying to listen to this thing. I don't know what it is. And my dad goes, well, that's a bass drum. You're hearing a bass drum. I was like, oh, okay. What? And he goes, then the other thing you're hearing is a snare. He was explaining to me. He's like, you're hearing a drum kit. I was like, that's what that is. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, that's what I want to make that sound. That's what I want. I want to make that. I want to make that be the one making that sound. And
wow.
It was the most basic drum beat in the world. But when you're talking about like big hit songs like that, like you're not there to show off. You're there to make the song great. And making the song great takes a lot of patience and skill that I wish I had for country world. Because I would totally mess with country music if I thought I had the finesse for it, But that was it for me. I knew right then and there. I was like, well, that's what I want to do. I'm gonna start playing drums, and Yeah,
How long after that did you get your first kit?
the next year. It was the next year, I think, because it was like I was in like, was it sixth grade? I think it was like the next year I got my first kit, and it took me a while to really understand that I had a lot to learn. Um, I was not very good through sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. Um, I didn't really start getting better at playing until like I was like getting towards the end of high school and getting out of high school.
Mm.
I did the drumline stuff in high school, and I got my chops from there. I got my concept of time and playing with power and like all this stuff. I learned a lot from that,
That's
but none of
cool.
it applied to drum kit. I didn't
Right.
pick up the drum set stuff like seriously until like my senior year of high school.
Dang. So you're a
Yeah.
late bloomer. I mean, in terms of the drum world, most drummers I feel like start way earlier.
Well, I was always playing on the kit, but I wasn't disciplined enough for lessons, private lessons,
Sure.
when I was younger. And so I was always playing stuff like learning songs that I like. I would grab headphones and like play songs that I liked and just start learning how to like play them that way,
Sure.
you know. And it was a bunch of Garth Brooks. There was some Aerosmith stuff in there. I messed around with some Metallica stuff. Um, Metallica stuff really threw me for a loop because like it was like it's like where's the tempo in this? It's like
You're like, I think I gotta find a pot to hit. That's what it sounds like he's hitting on this one.
yeah, I was like I don't have the right drums for this, and so I stopped playing Metallica songs. But yeah, so I mean I was definitely playing. Um, I was learning any songs that I liked, for years, but I just think that like my seriousness of like wanting to be like a stronger, better drummer really started taking shape in my senior year of high school.
Cool,
And
dude.
yeah, there was people going around campus like, "Hey, check out this band called Norma Jean. You're sick." I was like,
You're like, yeah, they're pretty good.
funny thing about that, someone came up to me and showed me Bless the Martyr,
Sure.
and they were like, "Check out this band called Norma Jean. They're sick." And I was like, grab the headphones. I start listening. I'm like, it's like this sucks. I was like, this sucks. and and so in my brain, I was like, this sucks. But oh god, the Aftermath came out not too much longer after that, and suddenly, Bless and Martyr made sense. It's like, oh, I get it. And I'm like, because I love Oh God. I was like, this is rad. So I went back and listened to some of Bless the Martyr stuff again. I'm like, okay, I get it. This is cool. This is rad. But I had to go back and give Bless the Martyr a second listen.
That's so awesome. That makes me so happy that you said it sucked.
Dude,
Honestly.
it's
One other quick side note is I just gotta say thank you for playing my all-time favorite Norma Jean song in Dilemma Machine.
oh yeah.
And the best part, I think that's like the coolest like little breakdown ever at the end of that song. And I'm so glad that you guys play that because I've worn that out on multiple CDs now. So
Yeah, that's a fun one, dude. That's one of my favorite moments from that album. That and Disconnect.
yeah, Disconnect
Mm.
is amazing. Yeah,
Mhm.
I miss
totally.
playing that one. We did that one on a tour. We started the set with the first half of Disconnect and ended the whole set with the second half of it.
Oh
Yeah,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. I was like, man, we need to do a tour where we just play like long songs or something like that,
Yeah, for
Yeah,
real.
I've always wanted to see. I always forget the name. I suck at names, but Sun Dies, Blood Moon. That fucking
Mm.
song rips. It gets so heavy once that like kind of big breakdown happens, and I would love to see that live.
I would love to see Falling from the Sky Day 7.
Oh man, we haven't played that one in a while. We did play that one for a little while live, the Falling from the Sky one.
I would go absolutely nuts.
Yeah, that's a fun one. We always talk all the time about finding a way to make Sundial's Blood Moon happen. Um, and we will. We'll do it one day. We're after this tour, especially. We started talking about all the
Furnace
ways.
Fest.
You know, I mean,
It's the
yeah,
time. It's the time to do it.
like we talk all the time about ways to change up the live show or just give people something that they wouldn't expect coming to a Norma Jean show. Because what you
Totally.
expected, they're going there for a good time, obviously, and the shows are fun, the fans are awesome, but like we gotta we want to do some real left field stuff
Yeah.
for like just a tour, just even if it's like a 2 week tour, just like find the right cities and be like, all right, we're gonna do this kind of thing for this tour.
Pull out a ludicrous song.
Oh my gosh,
There you go.
dude,
Now that's an idea.
that would be nuts. That would be hilarious, actually.
That really would be.
What
I
about
would.
what about Sean Lu?
Oh yeah. Sean
Yeah,
Lee would
you
be
know,
amazing.
because that's one that you don't that's not even on like any records.
It's only
Like,
on
Right.
Masters of Horror. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, I know. We talked about a couple of things. We almost did Shark Bite on this last tour.
No way.
Yeah, but it's like because that's one of those ones where it's like it's just noise and
Yeah.
like a blast beat or something like that and a fast drum fill and it's over.
Yeah.
We
You got
we
time
always
for it.
You're right. We always talk about doing little things like that, and sometimes we never get around to actually like doing it. But um, we are talking about doing some really cool stuff, like um, maybe this year, or maybe like towards the end of the year. Stuff that I don't really want to say yet,
That's all right,
but
man.
it's definitely stuff that we've been talking about doing for a few years, and it's just trying to find the right pocket of opportunity to do, and it does involve touring live. It's from like the live show aspect.
Sure.
So we'll definitely put out some details on that once we really nail something solid.
Is it going to
Well,
be
we'll
house
be
shows again?
What's that?
Is it going to be house shows again?
Man, okay, we thought about that, and I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, are we gonna jinx ourselves? Because we did those house show tours right as they were starting to tell people to stay home, and like,
Right.
it's like, oh, so we
You
thought it
brought
was
you
kind of
brought on the pandemic. Yeah.
right. It's like, oh, we were working out of people's homes before they were told to work at home.
Well, if you guys do house shows, I would love to hold one here. I have a farm. And I think it'd be cool to do a farm show.
Yeah, do one in your barn.
Yeah, we could have like a backstage with like tractors and stuff like that and all that cool stuff.
That would be so cool.
Have cows moving in the distance.
I'll be so down.
Yeah.
I'd
It'd be a
be
blast.
so down for that.
As you guys could tell, Sioux Falls was able to pull in quite a few people for a place that Norma Jean's never played before. So you could do it here. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, that was a surprising show. I was like, like you have to, truthfully, like you never know when you're going to a city you haven't been to before.
Yeah.
You never know how it's going to go. And so it was really awesome, that turnout and the energy and everything. That was a really cool show.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, let's.
Yeah, go ahead,
What do you
Mace.
want to plug? Yeah, Death Rattle came out last year. Obviously, people can stream it. People can buy it on vinyl. Yeah. What do you want to plug?
What do I want to plug? Man, I'm building a recording studio right now, like a full-on recording
Heck yeah.
studio.
Damn.
It's called
Are you going to
Boombox.
be doing recordings for other people, or is it just for personal use?
So this studio will be used for everything. It's called Boombox Generation, and it's going to be a lot of my purpose will be getting back into the swing with the session drumming stuff.
Nice.
And right now, like I'm doing some songwriting with an artist here in Grand Rapids who, when we come out public about this record, people will probably be stoked. It's someone who was in a bigger like touring band back in the day. They're still a band, but we're working on a cool like project together. But the studio will be full album production type stuff. The session drumming. Um, my wife Kara, she's a phenomenal voice uh, actor and everything. So we're going to be using a lot of her voice services. We're going to start reaching out to like folks that need like radio ads and things like that.
Wow.
Sweet.
Yeah, we've done a few. We've done a few. Corey's wife Rachel like hooked us up with a gig for University of Arkansas. So like,
Awesome.
yeah. So we have like we did a recording last year. It was like go to University of Arkansas, blah blah blah, like on the radio. It's like a whole radio ad thing. So I was like, that's super cool, and I was like, we could really actually like like nail that.
Yeah.
Nail that type of work easy, because for my wife it's just second nature for her to like get into that voice and do that kind of stuff.
You know what I think the world needs more of right now is radio jingles. Like, you know how like every like local place used to
yes.
have a radio jingle and like no one does them anymore? We need that again.
If anyone out there that owns a business wants to do a radio ad and they want a jingle and a voiceover or singing, because my wife sings also,
Nice.
like I'm putting this out there for people to hear, like, get me to do it for you.
Yeah. Go do it. They know where to go. They know where to go.
Yes.
Boombox generation.
I got to make my own jingle for my own studio.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right off the top of your head. Give me your jingle.
Shit. Man, I couldn't carry a tune if you gave me a bucket. There's no there. No.
I used to do this thing back in the day where like we'd be on like bus trips or whatever. We'd be going through a town and I would just like look at like all like the business signs and I would come up with like little jingles, and I would do like the 10th one. Everyone would be like, shut the hell up, please. Just please stop. Like, we get it. You can make a jingle in a moment. Okay. It's enough.
That's a talent though. Matt, anything else you'd like to plug? Wink, wink, wink.
So, side hustle business time. I'm going to start plugging my side hustle business right here.
All right.
Total custom toilets.
Ooh.
The world needs total custom toilets. All right. Tell me more.
Toilets, hand painted proprietary porcelain. It's and literally half the cost.
What?
Yeah.
Half the cost for
How?
custom toilets?
When it's hand painted, labor's cheap, man.
Damn.
Can you do like customized shapes as well? Because I went to this bar one time that had like a mouth urinal, and I thought it was the coolest thing I had ever saw.
Yeah, we could do custom shapes. Most of the shapes are just like AI based. So like we tell the AI to like make something and it gives us a picture. And then we have a mold that 3D scans it and stuff. And then it basically creates like it's not symmetrical. So, I mean, it's not the most comfortable thing, but it's custom.
It is custom. Do any of them come with bidets?
Bidets are an upcharge, premium upcharge. But
I might have to. I fucking love a good bidet.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about bidets for a second. It changed my world when I realized that those things even existed.
I know.
That's what Mason said too. I have a bidet and I use it once a month, maybe. I don't know. I'm bad.
What?
I
Really?
use it. See, the problem is I don't have hot water to it or warm water to it. So like I only use it in the summertime when it's hot outside.
Okay,
when
but
it's cold outside, I don't want cold water in my butt.
No, but hold up though. Like they have bidet kits now that you could that you can install like universal kits that can go on any toilet.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah. Do you have you can't run it to your like hot water line?
My hot water is really far away and I don't have an extension that can reach it. Otherwise I would.
Just keep like a candle underneath of the water pipe there. Like,
there you go.
The more you know. I should have thought of that.
Hey, that's why I'm in the custom toilet business. You know what I'm saying?
I do love a good bidet, but the only issue is, and this might be too much information, but anytime I poop, I always shower right after. So like, I really don't need a bidet. Like, so if you ever see me with like wet hair or looks like I just got done showering, also know that I just pooped.
That's not true.
Wow.
Yes, 100% true. Every time. Like I really try to avoid pooping in public for that reason, because I know I won't be able to shower right away.
I literally know only one other person in the world that does that.
And who is it?
I thought it was the rarest thing. I've never. I can't believe I know a second person that does that. That's actually kind of crazy.
Like
That is amazing.
I still wipe, but
Of
like
course, I'm not saying no. I'm
but-
not saying I'm not assuming you don't. I'm just
Right,
saying
right.
that like that is a lot of work to shower right after.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
I like
I guess
having a
I'm-
nice clean asshole.
Well, yeah, but I'm also imagining it from my perspective. I got a wife and 2 kids. Like, what if and we're not the most perfect eaters in the world. Like, what if I were like that, I'd be having to shower like 4 times a day sometimes.
Jesus.
You know, it's like these kids.
What are you putting into your body? Are you
These kids need their
drinking
dad. You
plum
know what I
juice?
mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. They can't be taking showers all the time.
yeah, the kids need kids need their parents.
You know,
Wow.
what's funny about that is the only
So
reason
I'd
I
have
said
to change
Mason's.
how I'm eating. I'd have to change how I'm eating to make sure I'm only showering like
A
once.
whole
day.
lifestyle change for you.
Yeah, total lifestyle change. I'm trying to
The-
wrap my brain around this right now. This is crazy.
The only reason I call Mason a liar is that he doesn't always shower, but he does oftentimes bathe right after. And what I mean is he takes a bath because Mason is known for clogging toilets and making them overflow. So he's literally bathing in his own shit water. So that's probably actually what it is.
Oh, so
Mhm.
that's the bidet that you were talking about. You just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a tendency of, especially if it's like a weak toilet, like a toilet that just doesn't flush very hard,
yeah.
there's a really good chance that I'm going to plug that damn thing.
And
You
it's
know-
always right before we're about to go somewhere.
Yeah,
And
like
so-
in the most inopportune times. It's just like clockwork.
Yeah.
So then, so if you have like an emergency dump, then you have to you're supposed to be going somewhere, but now you got to stop everything, dump, and then shower.
Yeah, I really try to like schedule out my poops in that way. Like I won't poop until like it is literally about to explode out, and then I try to like do it. Like if I'm going to shower, it's going to have to be like a 2-second shower, but my butt is going to be rinsed.
That's either a gift or a curse, and I can't tell which one yet. That's
Well, if there is any upside, it's that I always have a nice clean asshole.
I'm so glad that you have a nice clean asshole all the time.
Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate that.
I'm so happy for you, man.
I'm
Like
so
for
glad-
example, Cullen, I've never pooped at Furnace Fest. You know, we've been there for 6 days and now, and I've yet to have ever pooped at Furnace Fest. We spent
It's true.
countless hours.
Dude. So wait, what do you do for food then? Like,
I'm pretty good about like, I'm usually just so busy running around watching bands that I don't get like hungry. Like I don't even think about it. Eventually I do.
he
and
just
I'll eat when I
meditates and it
do.
goes away.
But I typically don't eat enough where I'm gonna have to like poop every day.
okay, that's fair. Man, that's wild to me though.
Matt, aren't you
Yes.
glad that you are, you said, hey, wife, I have to go do this interview. We're going to
And
go
talk
talk about
about
Norma Jean stuff. And then we're also going to talk about one of the hosts' shitting patterns.
I'm only gonna show her the end segment of just like here's
Here's how this
So-
interview went.
Yeah, so we talked about poop. We talked about pooping. We talked
And
about
bidets.
rinsing poop. And we talked we talked about
And poops that make you have to make a lifestyle change.
poop. Yeah. Like, man, if I have Taco Bell like on any given day, like my kids won't see me at all. Like, pooping and showering and stuff. It's like, man, sorry, Dad's busy.
Your water bill would be nuts.
Oh my gosh. Right? Like all the hot water would be gone. Like,
Oh my gosh.
oh,
Unbelievable. Well, Matt, thank you so much for chatting about Norma Jean and poop. It's been a blast.
Oh,
it's
jeez.
fun, guys. It's been
It
awesome.
wasn't a shitty time. It was just
not.
the opposite.
It was not a shitty time. We kept the shit where it needed to stay.
At the end.
At the end,
Mason's going to shower having talked about poop now.
maybe, right?
I think I already did my did I do my business already today? I think I did. And of course, I showered right after. So.
Come on,
we
man. You said you
belabored it
schedule
enough.
this stuff. You gotta be on top of your schedule. You can't be like, did I?
I mean, sometimes my poops are so infrequent that I'm just like, I don't remember the last time I pooped. I have no idea.
Oh, I thought you like had like a notepad. And you're like,
Oh no, I don't. Cullen he's got a notebook for the pooping. Like you always tell people to fill out the notebook after they take a shit.
Oh
in
yeah,
your bathroom.
I have a bathroom guest book.
Oh.
So
like,
you're
rate
supposed
your
to write your
experience
name down,
online.
the date, what you did, what it was like.
Yep.
That's awesome. Actually, that gives me. I need to have one for the studio here.
Dude,
There you go.
It is a worthwhile investment to make that, and you can make it look real nice. And
It's a great conversation piece.
it is, and you just get some really entertaining things to look through.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely gonna do that for the studio bathroom here.
Do it.
Love it. Well, Matt, thank you again. You're such a cool dude. I mean, for a band like Norma Jean that has been a part of Cullen and I's lives for a very, very long time and is one of our favorite bands of all time, like for somebody a part of that band to just be as cool and as kind as you are, that really means the world to us that you'd be willing to hang out for an hour and a half and just chat, even about poop. So thank you again so much for hanging.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. This was really fun, and hope we get to do something like this again sometime.
Hell yeah,
We'll do
man.
it.
We're down. We'll see you at Furnace Fest at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely.